Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to the party. I see that there seems to be like a potluck of virtual sorts going on among you all, and that's very appetizing. Well, it's Wednesday. It's April Fool's Day, but I think this year, of all years, let's not celebrate that. Let's just pretend that the world isn't playing a giant cosmic joke on us anyway. So let's enjoy the day. It's overcast here. The birds are chirping. The light is soft and flattering, so I look even better than normal. I'm sure you look great wherever you are too. So today is going to be fun because we're going to bring on my old pal Jean-Christophe Defline in Paris, where he's going to tell us about his life, his day, his situation, his art. Jean-Christophe is a fantastic artist and a great friend. And I spent a fair amount of time with him this past summer in uh, in in France, and that was really great. So it's nice. I just spent some time talking to him and catching up, and he seems to be doing okay. So that's good, and we'll bring him on in a little bit. But today we're going to draw people, and this is what has inspired the particular approach that I'm going to take in drawing people today. And it's echoed to some extent in the comments and the conversations that I'm seeing here on YouTube and on Facebook. By the way, we're back on Facebook. Yes, that's good news. Um, Thinking about, I was talking to my brother-in-law uh, yesterday, and I said, it's what really struck me was the fact that there are no sporting events of any kind going on anywhere on the planet. I mean, that's a remarkable thing if you think about it. I mean, with the exception of like Uzbekistan, I think, where they're refusing to acknowledge the crisis. But the rest of the world, no baseball, no football. They just canceled Wimbledon. And that just, there's something about the enormity of that. I'm not an enormous sports fan, but there's something about the, the world wideness of this that brought home to me in a way that just to think like if you try and think I can go somewhere else or I can turn on the TV and watch Australian rules rugby or something. No, this is affecting every human. Not every animal. Certainly these birds and our dogs don't care, but every human. And I don't know, I was just overwhelmed by the sense of our humanity and our connectedness in this. This is an experience that, I mean, even thinking back to like the Black Plague in Europe in medieval times, that didn't affect every person on the earth the way this does. And I wanted to start drawing people, just drawing lots of different kinds of people. So, what I want to do is I want to share with you, first of all, well, let me just show you this actually, because I wanted to show you this project that I've been working on over the last few days, thinking about it, thinking about this, I wouldn't call it an insight, but this kind of thing that impacted me. Um, so, for a while, I was drawing faces, just drawing people's faces to think about the variety of people, just the variety of people on this planet. And so I was just drawing different people, people who represent the variety of humanity, you know, just thinking like every person who you may or may not feel connected to, that you may or not feel like you have anything in common with. Every one of these people is experiencing this in their own way, you know. And something about trying to, I don't know that I'll draw every single person who's affected by this. I hope it doesn't last long enough for me to do that, but just thinking um, how different we all are, how varied we all are, and yet how similar we all are in this experience, in this moment, right? Um, it's so powerful. What I'm saying might be sort of trite and obvious, but I don't know. Sometimes simple truths are, and that's so. Rather than be apologetic, um, I'll show you this. For a while, I was just drawing these individual faces, and then I was thinking about. Well, then I was thinking about the particular lesson that I was going to share with you today, which is something that Jean-Christophe did a while ago. And I started thinking about just feeling like I wanted to be looser and more cartoony. So I was drawing Batman, just trying to remember what Batman looked like, figuring, well, I don't know if Batman is prey to this, but here's Batman casually dressed. And just, I wanted to just get simple. So I started to draw in this style of, I don't know, this is me, sort of. This is me as a tiger. You've probably been watching Tiger King. God knows why we're watching that show, but we're all probably watching it on Netflix. Anyway, so tiger. Pineapple. Me as a pineapple. I'm connected with all things, including pineapples. Me in outer space. Major Tom, far, far away, floating in my tin can. I don't know. This has always actually been my scariest fantasy. I hate that moment that you sometimes see in movies where there's an astronaut and he's floating like this, connected to a spaceship, and then the thing breaks and he goes floating off into space. You know that moment? And you think, oh my God, like what could be worse? Floating off infinitely, sort of still alive, and then I guess passing away, but then your body being preserved. Anyway, sorry. Cut myself shaving, so I was thinking about an idea that I had because of this that I'll probably be writing about sometime. Yes, this was drawn from a photo. This guy I just kind of made up. I was just feeling like, okay, I want to have more fun with it. So I was being a little earnest in those first heads, and so now I am, just playing a bit more. Here's me in my casual, everyday office gear. So this is the project that I've been working on that I want to work on today. So this is my, let's open the sky. Yeah, so this is what I want to be working on today. But we'll come back to this in a minute because I want to show you this lesson. So get ready while we're watching this. This is a lesson that we made with Jean-Christophe Defline, who is today's guest. And Jean-Christophe, we made this in a class called storytelling. And it is, Jean-Christophe is also part of our new course, which is called Art Bootcamp. I've talked to you a bit about it. And this is just a lesson on a thing that he's been doing where he was drawing, every day he was drawing a person, and he was making this big accordion sketchbook that he'll talk a bit about in a minute when we come back to Jean-Christophe Defline live here at the party.
starting the drawing with this pencil. So it's a pencil, a nice one, by the way. I bought it in Stockholm and I love it. And just to be sure, I just bought 3 at the same time, just in case one broke. There is a great debate right now between the teachers about those who ban the pencil and those who recommend the pencil. I use a pencil, but it's just to draw the overall contour of the drawing. So I'm not overworking the pencil, it is just to have the general shape. The real drawing I'll do with this pen. It's a Faber-Castell Pit Artist pen, and it's a 0.7 millimeters. So it's rather a big pen, and I use it on purpose because I don't want to dip into too much details. You always want to add, to correct a few stuff because you think it's going to be a little bit nicer like this. But the real difficult thing is you must stop before overworking the drawing, because otherwise you are going to add unuseful details and it doesn't bring anything to the drawing. And a good way of forcing you not to add too much details is to try to tell yourself, well, I'm going to draw this person in, let's say, less than 15 minutes, or maybe it's 15 minutes for me, maybe it's going to be 20 minutes for some of you, or 30 minutes. But just try to give you a reasonable time frame up to the point where you're telling yourself, well, I'm stopping right now. And then I use this brush, so it's also an artist pen. I love this brush because there is, I don't know if you can hear it, but there is a nice sound on the paper. And I'm coloring the drawing to have a nice balance between the black and the white, so it gives a little bit more volume to the drawing. And it's almost like a coloring book for children, so I like it. Reminds me of my young ages. It is very relaxing. All you have to do is to be sure that you keep into the lines, you're not going too far. I have a very small eraser. I almost never use the eraser when I'm drawing, because if you erase one of the line because it's a wrong line, then when you do it again, there are chances that you do another wrong line because you have erased the other one. So I let all my pencil strokes, and once the drawing is made, I remove some of the strokes that are unuseful. But sometimes I leave them because I love to see the pencil strokes and the first errors I have made below. So the drawing is finished now, in fact, and what I noticed that Gloria Swanson is a bit taller than the man around her, and I'm a bit worried about that. But on another hand, I'm telling, well, she's really a star, so she wants to be sure that she's going to pop up out of this gallery of persons. So she came in front of the stage to be sure that when you look at the gallery, there is only one person that you'll notice, and she's Gloria Swanson, the star.
Okay. Yes. Hello. Sorry about that little flurry of JPEGs. So we're going to bring Jean-Christophe on, and talk a bit about that. So here he is, Jean-Christophe. Bonjour.
Bonjour, Danny.
It's so nice to see you.
Hello, everybody.
It's,
Yes.
It's true. It's nice to see our two bald heads together again. This summer we were noticing, in fact, at one point, Jean-Christophe and I had both bought these identical Breton shirts, and we were both posing with our iPads, and that was, so
yes, I remember that
familiar.
photo. It was like the Thompson and Thompsons.
Thompson and Thompson, exactly. So Jean-Christophe, tell us where you are.
Well, so I'm in Paris. I'm confined in my flat with my two twins and my wife and my granddaughter, who's 5 years old. Well, we are lucky because we are in a large flat, and I am not very anxious about how I can spend the extra time we have at home. Because I have a company to deal with in home working, and when I have some time left, I try to draw. So killing time is not really an issue for me.
So you seem like you're very busy. You're busy. You've got your granddaughter to look after. You've got your business to look after. When are you finding the time? Because I know you're always busy. You have a very demanding job.
We are all. Well, I'd say I find time in the morning because I spare time on transportation. I no longer have to take the bus or walk home. I also have time at lunchtime. I can draw with my granddaughter because she's drawing, even though she's 5 years old. She loves to draw, so I try to do very simple drawings with her. And actually, I have noticed she's far better than I am at Procreate.
Procreate, very good.
Yes, she started. She's obviously more used at Procreate than. So I use paper. She's using Procreate. That's probably a generation gap. And mostly in the evening, when everything is up and it is done, then I relax drawing. I don't watch very much TV. So it's very good to see that you only need. There are a lot of TV shows you only need to hear. So
right.
I draw, and it's a way of relaxing of the rush of the business hours, or it's a form of meditation. I think we switch off from the news and from unusual social networks. I mean, there are a lot of unusual. I mean, not necessary. Sorry, not necessarily. There are a lot of people who display their anxiety, their fear, and we feel like it's just a waste of time. So we listen in the news in the morning just to see what the situation is, and then we are dealing with the organization of the day, and we have more time for more time to read. I have a large library with a lot of books on drawing. So I took off some of my favorite. Yours, I'm brown nosing. Tommy Kaye's.
Keep it up.
Yeah, I recently bought a book from David Gentleman.
We love David. For those of you who don't know, David Gentleman is an incredible British illustrator. In fact, I did a sketchbook club video about him once. So if you'd like to know more, I remember. He's fantastic. But Jean-Christophe says that he has a big library. Jean-Christophe has the most insane art library. I mean, I've never seen a professional library that has the content that he has. And in fact, I made a little film when we were staying at his house this summer, which I'll probably share with you when I run out of things to share with you. And I made a film about all the books in his place and some of my favorites. But I want to show you some of the drawings that you've been doing. You sent me some JPEGs of them, but maybe you can just tell me what they are as I pop them up here. So this one is
sure.
So this is your containment diary. It looks like are these big blocks of soap?
Yes. I started with by making what I love to do is to draw what's unusual. So the first unusual thing for me was to wash my hand 50 times a day. So I bought a nice laurel and olive piece of soap from Aleppo. And I nicknamed it Laurel because when I was a boy, I loved Laurel and Hardy. So so every hour or so, I give a big foaming hug to my friend Laurel.
I love that. All right, let's have a look at another one. This is so this is this who is this? Is this the president of France? No, who is this?
Which one?
So this is
for the time being,
with a red nose, yeah.
Oh yes, with the red nose. So that was funny. So that was the guy the journalist heading the big news show in France. So roughly speaking, there are about half of the population who is watching this show. And actually, this guy is a nice guy. He's trying to do his job as best as possible. He has a difficult one because since he has a very large audience, he must do his best so that everybody understands what he says, if you know what I mean.
Right.
And he started by explaining that there was a very simple way of fighting the virus, and by chance, it costed absolutely nothing. And the only thing you need to do is to stay at home and wash your hands. And at the same time, I was trying to see how I can deal with the revenue of my company crashing down. And I hear this guy giving a lesson of economics to everybody. So I turned him into Bozo the Clown. But
understandable.
But actually, he's a nice journalist. But that was just my...
You always have like a little bit of a political aspect to some of your drawings. I think that's great. Those are the things that you're thinking about.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at another one. This is called Wartime at the Bakery, Boulangerie with.
Yes.
Is this the one around the corner from you? This is the Boulangerie around the corner, right?
Yes, it's around the corner, and you know, when you're a Frenchman, the important thing is to be sure to get a fresh baguette every day. So even though people tell us, the government tell us to try to go once a week to make all your shopping, for an average Frenchman, it's impossible to eat something else than fresh bread. So I went to the bakery, and I look at the people who are lined up every 2 meters, and we have the owner of the boulangerie, who is a woman. She was at the entrance with a stick. So I don't know whether the stick was here to make sure that people would respect social distancing, but they were all wearing masks, which was a bit surprising because until then, everybody has said that masks were unnecessary except if you were infected by the virus. But so I love the feeling of wartime. So I did this drawing back. I took a little snapshot just to inspire me. I do the drawing back home, and then I wrote down a post on wartime in the bakery.
I love that. She's not wearing gloves, I notice.
No, she's not wearing gloves, but in fact, I mean, gloves are even worse. Gloves are even worse because at least when you don't have gloves, you wash your hands from time to time.
Good point.
While on the plastic,
That's true.
things stay. Yeah.
That's true. Exactly. All right. So here's one. This is a very sweet one, which is you and your granddaughter, I assume, and you're reading to her. Tell us about that one. That's just a great drawing.
Ah, yes, that's so. I we were playing with my little girl. She was asking me question. You know, at a certain time, she asked me who is Aichi and tells stories very well. So I understood it was time to switch to something else. And then she selected in our library a book for children, and I read a story about a pirate. And the fun thing is, I decided to draw this at the end of the day, and she came close to me because she likes to look at me drawing. And then she discovered I was copying the drawing of the books in the background of the drawing. And then she rushed in the library. She took another book, and she drew one of the drawing in the book. And then she discovered that it was more simple to draw after a drawing in a book rather than from pure imagination. So
you ruined
I was
her.
happy because no. I told her, well, listen, you should do both. You know, train yourself by copying the artwork of other artists, but you must express your own creativity and let your imagination flow. So we are trying to try to make a mix of them.
So what other kinds of things have you been doing with her? Have you been doing drawings? You mentioned to me you're doing the kind of you draw a line, she draws a line thing. Tell us a bit about that.
We have a very nice game which we play all together. Is I started by drawing a line, any kind of shape, and she must go on with the drawing and find something that that ends the drawing, and then she's doing the same thing with me, and what is funny is I usually draw curved line while she draws line with angles.
Oh, interesting.
But yes, what is surprising is that I love to see how everybody's imagination can look at those shapes and you see different things. And then finally, you saw the drawing taking shape. And I'm always amazed at what she can do, for instance. No, even very simple stuff. I mean, you don't need necessarily to do a nice drawing.
Just the fun of drawing. And that's the stuff we always talk about as grown-ups too, right? Just have fun drawing. It doesn't really matter what you're making.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. It's
just a fun thing. Let's have a look at another one. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. This is your very crazy vacuum cleaner thing with a bird sitting on top of it.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful drawing of a bird too.
Yeah, thank you. So that was on in fact the fifth day of the confinement. It was spring. You would normally think that spring is a very sunny day where birds are singing like in your where you are currently, mm-hmm. Except that it was almost freezing. It was a gloomy day, but since it was our fifth day in the flat, we felt like it was time for a great spring cleaning. So we started with the vacuum cleaning, and then I sat at my desk to relax for a while, and I looked at at Facebook, and there were a bunch of guys yelling and shouting at the government, because they haven't done this and they should have done that, and etc. I started to look after this up to the time where I say, well, maybe I need to do some cleaning also
of your social
with my
media.
friends on of my social media. So I didn't fire friends, but you can hide them, and they don't appear in the wall. And the fun thing, in fact, is that the word for this in French is masquer, like in English,
right?
Mask. So it's the exact same
Oh,
word as wearing a mask. So I think that it was also a way. It was a way of purifying my mind from this unnecessary flow of because I mean it doesn't help with the situation. It just bring anxiety, anger, and nothing else. So now I only have very zen things on my wall.
Maintain our serenity. It's true. And here
Yes.
we have some bottles of booze. And are you talking to a friend on your iPad? Is that what that is? Socializing. What's
Yes.
What's
That was
apéritif?
socializing. So, well, apéritif in French is drinking with friends, and I called a friend who is right now. I mean, he's confined alone, and I know he's an amateur of whiskey, and because he is alone, he never drinks alone. So that was my first social event since I was confined. And what was really cool, I mean, I had done a lot of video conference call at the office, or with friends, or with family. But I mean, here I put the iPad on the coffee table with a mic, and I poured a glass of whiskey. He's done the same in front of me, and I'd say 5 minutes after, we have almost forgotten that we were 5 kilometers distant from each other. And so, of course, we talked about the crisis, about what would happen next after because he's a journalist, in fact. He's been heading the digital part of a newspaper. So we had a long chat, and I was just thinking, because in a former life I have worked for Microsoft, and launching the internet at a time where nobody knew exactly what internet was. And the fun thing was that there were a lot of intellectuals in France that were reproaching to us to dehumanize the planet with those technologies. And I thought that what is happening right now, what we are doing here, is probably the best answer for them a quarter of a century later, is the fact that even though we are all confined, we do need each other. We want to meet, and we're trying to do our best to share our feelings, our emotions, our humor, and I wanted to put this down on the paper.
No, I think that's a very important point, and obviously we're experiencing it right now. And here's your final drawing. Oh, this is in Saint-Malo. Is this a drawing that you've done recently?
Yeah,
because it's beautiful.
That's a drawing I have drawn. I have done recently. That's a glass stain in Saint-Malo, and I love the fact that when you started drawing, when I started drawing, I don't know how long I'm going to spend, and sometimes I went into too many details. That was what happened on this drawing. But in fact, I think that I had a very tough day, a very business day, trying to set everybody's work at home, and So maybe I think I spent 3 hours in a row on that drawing. But at the end of the day, I felt very, very, very relaxed, and I wasn't so happy with the drawing, but I felt
I
very
think
peaceful.
any one of us would be very happy with that drawing. So I think they're beautiful. Absolutely. So speaking of drawing, why don't we do some drawing now? Do you want to do some drawing and I'll do some drawing and we can just
Sure,
work on that lesson that you gave us, which is really
sure.
you can join me in here. We'll be in a little in the corner, and I'm going to just work on this kind of big drawing that I've been doing. Sorry, get my thing open. Here we go. So yeah, so I've been just drawing these random people to represent my sort of ode to humanity, and this is like an endless sort of, I don't know, maybe they're socially distanced. They all look a little glum, but I'm going to just do some drawing. So, what are you going to be drawing?
I'm going to draw in my sketchbook.
Mm-hmm.
And what am I going to draw is
I'm trying to make these people all be sort of slightly different characters, but I want to make sure that they're dignified in their way. So they're not, I mean, they're sort of
yeah.
they're cartoony, but they're not, um, they're not jokes. That was important to me, just to make sure that they maintain their humanity. Um, this guy's sort of a short guy with a quiff, as we used to call it. What's your favorite pen these days?
Actually, my favorite pen is I have two. One is a Pelican. It's a fountain pen, which I have discovered the day where I draw in Paris with Melanie Reim.
Melanie Reem, yeah.
And yeah, Melanie Reim, she had a fabulous pen. We draw together, and back home, I say, I want that pen, and I bought it. I bought it at the end of the day online.
She has several of those
and
Pelicans.
I have, yeah, and I love them actually. They're not very cheap, but I love it. It's a good quality pen, and I have another one which is with a thinner, which is it's a Chinese one, I think, TWSBR.
Yeah. I know those.
It's a transparent one.
It's called a demonstrator. Those kind of transparent
exactly.
Yeah, demonstrator. But you generally draw with fountain pens, though, don't you?
Yes, I think. Let's say that when I was a kid, I used to draw in the margin of my notebooks at school,
mm-hmm.
which which didn't please very much. I'd say my teacher weren't very happy with this, but so I think there's probably something in my mind where I want to find again this juvenile pleasure I had to draw when I was a kid at school. But no, what I like, in fact, with the fountain pen is that you can do very thin, very thin lines or more larger lines. And I'm even sometimes using calligraphics pen, because they have a larger nib, and I like the fact that sometimes you're surprised by the line. You expect a thin line, and then you have a large blob instead. Sometimes it gives a nice effect to your drawings.
The kind of unpredictability of it.
Yes, exactly. And you can do some shadows. You can add black large black. So, in fact, I'm drawing. I'm trying to draw somebody with a basket going outside, because when you go outside right now, you need to take a form with you, where it's kind of very funny stuff. You authorize yourselves to go outside.
Oh, see, so it's like a note from yourself saying that you're allowed to go outside.
Yes. I hereby, Jean-Christophe Defline, authorize Jean-Christophe Defline to go outside. To go outside to buy necessarily supply.
That's hilarious.
And there's a small chocolate shop at the end of at the corner of the street, and everybody in the district was really anxious to see whether this would be considered as a necessarily supply or not. And the good news is you can go and buy chocolates.
A friend of mine told me the same thing.
Think that the government,
in Los Angeles, the marijuana stores have the same kind of.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's considered an essential business, from what I seem to have heard.
Yeah.
So I'm moving on to another person. I've finished my sort of diminutive hoodlum. It looks like a hoodlum in a black leather jacket. Maybe I should give him some more. Maybe I'll make more of a motorcycle jacket. I'll do that in a minute. But right now I'm enjoying doing this guy who is, I don't know what he is. Maybe he has mutton chops. This guy's. But I'm trying to think of trying to represent people from different parts of the world, different kinds of jobs, different kinds of ages. But a lot of time I'd have no idea what they are until I start drawing them, and then I'm like, oh, that's one of those guys. So.
So I finished mine, but I'm trying to add some colors to it.
All right. Well, why don't we share what we're doing, and then we can see. Let me see. Hold yours up, and let's have a look at it.
I don't see if you can.
Hold it closer.
Can you see it, or
hold it closer to the camera? It's a little hard to tell.
Is it too close?
No, hold it close. Close is better. It's a bit hard to tell. It's hard to tell, I have to be honest with you. It's hard because
it's hard to tell?
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
Yes, I'm really sorry that the line is. In fact, we have a lot of problems with the internet, because everybody is at home and everybody is watching YouTube and Netflix and etc. So I think they have asked Netflix to to stream in low quality. So I'm really sorry for the bad image.
No problem.
I
I was talking to a
hope
friend of mine in Brooklyn yesterday, and he said that his internet went out for half an hour, and he and his wife were panicky. And he said, "What would it be like if there was no internet? Like, what would it be like to go through this if there was no internet?" And I said, "It's called the plague, the Black Death, Middle Ages. People went through it. The human race survived, but yeah, it was probably pretty miserable without Netflix in the 1500s,
Yes, exactly.
1400s. So, but Shakespeare managed to write a couple of good plays during it, so it's all good." All right, good. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you and your family continue to be safe.
It was
And
my pleasure.
yeah, and keep busy.
Yeah, sure.
Keep doing stuff. Stop watching the news. Keep eating chocolates, and keep drawing. And
Sure.
the same goes for all of you. I'll see you tomorrow. I have a couple of ideas for what we'll do tomorrow. Didn't get to do that much drawing today, but it was fantastic to talk to Jean-Christophe and get his perspective on things and see all the stuff that he's doing.
Okay.
Jean-Christophe, maybe you'll share your drawing on social media so people can see it. The drawing that you were just doing.
Yeah, sure,
today.
sure.
And or in the schoolyard if you have it.
I need to write about the clean spring.
Good,
sure.
Good, yeah, excellent.
I'll post some stuff in the following days.
Great,
sure.
Thank you. Jean-Christophe is always very generous sharing his work. So if you follow him on Facebook, you can see, and you're on Instagram as well, and of course in the schoolyard.
I'm on Instagram as well. So
yeah. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks
JC Defline on Instagram.
JC Defline, right?
It was nice talking to you.
Nice to talk to you too. Thank you so much. And
take care, Danny.
Thank you. Bye bye. All right. Jean-Christophe Defline. Good. Nice to see him. Nice to see you. Thanks all for joining me today. I'm going to continue working on my series, but we're going to do something completely different tomorrow. And as you see, I've been trying to stream on all platforms again. It seems to be working. So it's nice to have folks from Facebook and from YouTube here. But let me remind you, please subscribe to this channel, not because it makes me feel good, but because that way when I start doing this, you will instantly get a notification. So hit the little bell in particular. The bell will send you a notification we're on. But we will be here again noon Eastern Standard Time, 9 o'clock here in Phoenix. And also, if you did make something today and you want to share it, please do, and please put the URL. I'm not sorry, the URL, the hashtag SBS Drawing Party. SBS Drawing Party. There it is. So that will allow me to see what you've done. We're getting through this, folks. It's all good. Keep inspiring each other, and let's keep making art. That's all we can do. Well, it's not all we can do. We can also, I don't know, make brownies, call our friends and drink whiskey with them, read books, do as much work as you can do, and read as little crazy social media and disastrous prognostication, and instead think of yourself in the context of the entire planet, the entire human race, and the entire history of us as a species will continue. And so will I. I'll see you tomorrow.